Welcome to another Navigating Life with the Driver. Not gonna say episodes. Kind of been thinking about that thing, looking at some of my past videos. Some of them are super long, some of them are super short, some of them just right, like the Three Little Bears, right? And I thought, you know, episodes sounds all fancy and stuff, but you know, sometimes this may be fancy, sometimes this may be random, and I don't want to just put myself in a box. So no longer will you see labeled episode. Anyway, just want to get that out the way. So I thought I would come on. I've just been doing some thinking, y'all, about character, right? So as many of you guys know from my episode of 45, there I go that word, but it wasn't episode, right? Of 45 and Fired. Let's talk. I'm not working right now. Lost my job for reasons that still I get, but don't 100% agree with. But that's neither here nor there. But you know, I've been meddling through this season with a lot of highs and lows. Not always on the mountaintop. Not gonna pretend that I'm been 100% like, woo, we got this, we faith, we the flame, victory's my language, you know. It's been some dark days, and some of those days I just really been thinking like, Lord, I'm a little angry. Some of this feels a little unfair too. And when I say unfair, yes, I had a bad moment. I had a bad moment when it came to my character, choices and things like that. But it felt like some of the people that were involved, that and I want to say involved, but some of those people that I have had a part of that circle when it comes to my social work side of life and everything, I have had to navigate a lot of their not so nice behaviors and choices and things. And sometimes it can seem really unfair that a person can seem to continue to have certain behaviors and never have to take accountability for it. You know, that's one thing. And then another thing was like, you know, I got to thinking like how some of those same people, I can run into people that know them and they have this whole total perception of them, how just great and wonderful and caring and loving this person is, and how they're just so proud of them. And you know what? In that moment, I don't try to say like, you sure? Do you really know who they are? No, I'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I just agree, and you know, nod my head, because if that's the perception you have, that's the perception you have. But that same person, I can run into multiple other people, and the perception that I have, their perception matches that, like their experience, and so it's more identifiable and real for me. So I'm more like, okay, so it's easy to look at other people and think, okay, yeah, they're fake, or you know, why are they not seeing themselves, Lord, and things like that. But then I had to look inward with this whole situation as well, because part of the unfairness was the way I'm being judged, the way I'm being labeled. And I thought, well, Lord, it's not true. I said, well, what if that same person feels that way, that it's not true about them? So I got to think, okay, wait a minute. What if every version of us that is presented is true in some type of, what's the word I'm looking for, some type of aspect that is true? Not that it holds 100% truth, but that some parts may hold some weight where it can help us look inward and maybe grow in those areas. And so looking at it like that made things a little bit more easier for me to accept, and it just made me kind of think, and I wanted to share those thoughts. Because I don't know about you, I know you've probably run into someone that has said some harsh things to your face about who they thought you were, or maybe even behind your back, and spread things and said, well, she's this, she's that, he's this, he's that. And you're like, that's not even me. Like, why are they lying on me? But if you really think like what may have given them that perception of you, like what was the scenario, what may have happened, if we look at it as aspect of something to learn from, I think it can help us more than take away from us. So when I was thinking about this, I thought about something called a character compass. And we know compass consists of the north, the south, the west, and the east, right? And I like to think north is pointing up, north being God. And we know that whatever God says about us is factual. It's true. Nobody can refute that. And what God says about us is in his word. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are made in his image. We're royalty, we're priesthood. All those things are factual, right? So nothing and nobody can change that about what God has written over our lives and said about us and our, how he views us. But then when you look at the South is more like our everyday dealings with people. And the South is where what people say about us, their perception of us in that moment, the narrative that they have about who we are as a person. And that's the part that we tend to shy away from some. And it's easy to do because we know ourselves best, right? Or so we think, okay? We know who we are majority of the time. Not when we're triggered, not when we're, that's triggers. Trigger can encompass being upset, being sad, being irritated, feeling passionate about something, or we're feeling like an injustice has been done. We become a little different than our normal selves. And because that's not who we are every day, we don't look at that as a way of defining us. And so when people may come and counter with that side of us, we're like, that's not who I am. And that's not fair for you to judge me in one bad moment. But like I said, to them that version is real. So how can we use that as a positive to ourselves? Well, I like to think about, first of all, the West, which I would say is impact. The impact of our interactions on people. And that's where that framing of how they perceive us comes from. How some people can look at us and say, oh, they're the best wonderful person in the world, and how others can look at us and say, she got a stink attitude, she not for the people, she this and that, And then the East is intention, right? That's us, and that's where we tend to operate out of the North and the intention of the East, the intention, okay? So our intentions, which always seems to kind of X out that us looking at the West of the impact, because we know that, okay, my intention was good. That's not what I intended, how I intended it to come across. Yes, I was upset, but that's not what I intended to happen. So that's not who I am. And XYZ caused me to act that way. But we have to have a level balance of impact and intention. We cannot be so solely focused on what our intentions were and ignore how our actions actually impact others. And while some impacts cause us to need to apologize, others need to cause us to look inwardly and say, okay, what can I do differently? Because that's the version they saw of us, right? When we do that, or when we fail to do that, that's when we become a more one-sided person, where we may think, well, everybody's lying on me. I am this wonderful, caring Christian woman, a man, a good person. I do this. I give to the needy. I do, whatever we do that makes us feel like so saintly and so good. But if we lean into how our actions impact others and what we're hearing being said about us, and some people may be bold enough to say it to us, and we take that in consideration, that will help us gauge ourselves and help us grow in areas where just because I'm triggered doesn't mean I get to say and do what I want to do, act how I want to act. It shows me areas where, okay, I'm lacking a little patience here because they got that side of me that was just tired and fed up, or I'm lacking a little self-control when it comes to regulating my emotions. Using myself as an example. What I learned from that, I need to listen to when my inner radar is saying, hey, we're overworked, we're tired, you're emotionally drained. Take a break, take a step back, take a breather. Because guess what? Those impacts are lasting. We always have first impressions, is how people view us, and we have those impressions. Like, it don't matter what we say after that. That's what people will always remember about us. So I don't know if that makes sense, everything I just said, but I'm not saying that every version of us is 100% true, but what I'm saying is it shows maturity when we, instead of trying to push away what people say and think about us, we take in consideration what is being said and maybe take self-inventory. Because if you're hearing that you're unfair, or that, just things like that, and just look at your actions. Maybe there is something that's giving off that vibe. Maybe it's not your intention to give off that vibe, but that's the impact your actions are having on those around you. And there is a certain responsibility to make sure that, as to best of your ability, that impact is positive. Now, is everybody going to be 100% always happy with you and say nice things about you? No. But if there are areas of your life that you can change to make sure that your impact is positive with majority of the people that you meet, then why not do it? Why not lean into that? That's the part that we're afraid to lean into. But if we can do that, man, just imagine how much more you can grow, how much more people you can reach, how much more people will look up to you instead of look at you like, you know. And we don't do it for that, but I mean, who wants to be not liked? Who wants to be misunderstood? I know I don't. So hopefully that made some sense. I don't know, but it was food for thought, something that was just on my brain and I wanted to share. And like I said, it's a lot of self-reflection born out of, you know, just not understanding how certain people can operate certain ways. And then you can also hear good things about these people. And like I said, it now does not mean those things are untrue about those people either. So let me put that out there. But it just means that maybe they have lacked the ability to look at the impact of their actions towards other people, and they're looking more again at their intention. Well, I didn't intend for it to happen that way. My intentions was this. I just want this, this, and that. But it's growth. You know, compasses balance us out. They tell us what direction we need to go, which one we need to lean more to. So that's it, guys. I'll see you when I see you again, right? Next time on Navigating Life with the Driver. Love you guys. Thank you for listening in. My nose is itching. All right. Bye.